What is happening, guys? Mike here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we got a quadruple product review here coming to us straight from Canada, and as usual we got a little bit to cover in a lot of time. All right, once again, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me here today. We are talking about Con Moto today. It's a pomade company from our neighbors to the north up in Canada. And this is actually my first time ever dealing with this brand. I heard about them from Brandon Rodriguez, who runs the Workman's Pomp here on YouTube. They referred me over to them. And so far, my experience with just talking to the brand has been awesome. This is exactly the kind of brand that I love to work with. They pretty much just give me full reign to do whatever I want. Here's the products. Test them out, do what you're gonna do pretty much, which is exactly how I love to work. And if you've never heard of this brand, I'm gonna introduce you to them and their products today. And looking over their site, Con Moto actually means with movement. And they say on their site that their products are designed with an exclusive formula to strengthen the bonds in your hair so it holds your look when you're on the move. They actually claim this is done using both creatine and biotin, which they say infuses and replaces lacking proteins needed to create healthy bonds and stronger follicles. I mean, basically, they science the hell out of these products and, in turn, your follicles. Like I said, too, we do have a quadruple review going on here. So we got 4 total products to look at from this line. We've got their original pomade, paste pomade, clay pomade, and their cream pomade. First up, though, we do have the original pomade, and according to the brand, this is an unorthodox water-based pomade that's derived from 95% natural ingredients. Officially, it is listed as a high hold and medium shine that, among other things, includes creatine and biotin, like we already talked about, which infuses and replaces those proteins to create healthier and stronger hair, which leads to less breakage. Beyond that, it does feature a light cognac and Cuban scent, and it also comes in 2 sizes, 3.5 ounces for $20.75 US and 5 ounces for $30.18 US. Inside the tin here, we got probably what you were expecting when you think of a gel type. There's nothing much different here. It's slick, it's sticky. I mean, it's very much gel type-ish. One thing that does set this one apart for me in the breakdown is I'd say it's more thick than slick. You can really feel it when you spread it into your hand. Now, because this is a gel type, I will be starting the demos off here with damp hair or towel dried hair, however you want to say it. I am going to be using a total of 2 scoops here, and of course there's no pre-stylers, oils, sprays, anything like that in this or any of the demos that I'm going to show you today. As I add this product in, I really don't see anything out of the ordinary here, if I'm being honest. It's just a standard gel type. This part always becomes hard when it comes to these products because I usually don't see much that sets them apart unless there's something wrong with it, like it hardens super fast or it hardens up super hard, or maybe it lifts too fast like we have seen in the past. But here, all I see that's a little bit different is it's a bit thick. Like I mentioned, it makes the styling a tiny bit hard when it comes to actually sculpting a style, but it's not impossible. Here is the end result that I got, though, with this pomade. And again, it's okay. It's not my favorite result because it was a little bit hard to style with, but here's that same result 8 hours later at the end of day. I think overall it looks pretty much the same, with a couple exceptions being the first that it did harden up quite a bit, but that's to be expected. But I do think that because it hardened up so much, some of the hairs in the back and the sides kind of stuck straight out, which was a little bit new. Other than that, though, it's quite obvious that this pomade isn't going anywhere, so that can be looked at as a positive. Next, though, we do have the cream pomade, and according to the brand, again, this is a water-based medium hold natural finish styling aid that's designed for fine hair, textured short cuts, and taming longer styles. This pomade also features the same scent as the previous product, but this one only comes in 1 size and 1 price of 3.5 ounces for $20.75 US. Inside the tin on this one, we have pretty much the opposite of what we just looked at. We can obviously see that it's true to its name. I mean, it's creamy, it's pomade-y, pomade-ish, pomade-esque. Looking at the consistency of this product, though, it is quite creamy, but it's also got a bit of thickness or a softness to it. It's actually quite satisfying to scoop out, really. In the hand, though, I noticed it surprisingly had very little stickiness to it, which was quite a surprise to me. For this demo now with the cream pomade, we're going to be starting off with dry hair. Now, this comes in handy here, not just because I usually use dry hair, but this actually came into play when it comes to the performance of the product as well. Because when I apply the product to my hair, I can see it's very light in both weight and visible hold, at least at first. I do honestly think this one can be deceiving in its consistency. I mean, it's not full of hold by any means, but it's not totally without hold either. That's why I say the dry hair comes into play here, because it helped bring out some of the hold so that I could actually get some performance going here. Obviously too, slickness and combing is no issue with this product, and really neither is volume. When it comes to the finish, I do think there's a bit more than the reported natural finish. I think it's kind of a low finish, but I did actually enjoy the end result here. And if we look at that same result 8 hours in, I have to say I think it looks pretty decent. The finish has lifted obviously into a more natural finish, but obviously the volume has dropped down. We got a little bit of deflation going on there, but again, we are talking about 8 hours into the day, so I think we can look at that both ways. Moving right along now into the paste pomade. Once again, the brand describes this as a pliable matte paste that provides texture and adds definition to every hair type. They also say it's designed for a soft and easy look that remains pliable throughout the day. Just like the others too, this one's made with healthy ingredients. They say this one is 90% natural, and just like the others, it features the same exact scent, the light cognac and Cuban scent, and this one comes in the same size and price of 3.5 ounces for $20.75 US. Looking inside the tin on this one, we have a very similar looking product to what we just saw in the cream pomade, but this one is visibly thicker. In the realm of paste too, I think this one lives in the land of thicker and softer pastes and not creamy and lotiony pastes. Why is there so many pastes? So many pastes. Moving on to the demo though, we're going to start this with dry hair here once again, and for me this one didn't really matter if I used dry or towel dried hair, because in the end it looked damp anyway. And just like the last one, this one is labeled natural finish, but I feel like it's got a healthy dose of shine there. I do think that shine also works to some benefit though. It provides some slickness and makes the sculpting quite easy. I did also find that my hair was very responsive to this product as far as hold and styling goes, but I was expecting to see a bit more of that volume and texture. I felt like there was some there, but not as much as I was expecting. Here is the end result though that I got with this product. I think it's very clean cut. I think it's polished. It's looking pretty good. And then if we look at that same style at the end of the day, we can see overall it's very similar to the cream pomade. It's more natural in the hair, but of course it lost some air to it. I think what texture was there also went down, but you know, honestly, the style hasn't fallen down. It hasn't totally fallen apart. So I think it does deserve some credit there. All right, moving on to our last product now, we have the clay pomade. This one here is described by the brand, of course, as a strong holding styling clay that adds volume to the hair without adding weight. They do say it's ideal for textured and deliberately messy hairstyles with a matte finish, giving you a more natural look, which was a little bit confusing to me at first. This one here though is made using 98% natural ingredients, and as you probably guessed, the scent is the same as the other three products, and it sells for the same price and size as the other two we just looked at. Inside the jar on this one though, we have a very thick product. I mean, it's not the thickest pomade I've ever scooped before, but it's not an easy scoop by any means. Once it's in the hand though, it does break down fairly easily. Now, it should come to no surprise to anyone that for this demo, we are going to be going with dry hair. I know, you're probably just as surprised as I am, but once again, we are rolling with dry hair because this does have clay in the product, and I really want to see what those clays can do and not choke them to death with water. And when I added it into my hair, I gotta say, it didn't act quite as I was expecting. I was thinking it would be a lot greasier than it is based on what I felt in the hand. I mean, there is a little bit of gleam there. It's not a matte finish here in the beginning, but it's really not greasy. As far as the hold goes, I'd have to say I think it's adequate. I think it's actually very nice, but when I first saw this end result here, I was thinking, well, this wasn't what I was hoping for when it comes to this product, but then it started to shift and it gave me a lot of hope. I mean, take a look here. This is that same style 8 hours in, and really I was just completely surprised. Matte finish, texture, volume, it's like a completely different product, and this isn't just a couple hours in. This is a full 8 hours in, and it still looks this way and looks like it could keep going even further. It took me 4 days to complete all those demos. You just watched 4 days worth of demos and endurance tests. I literally just realized how long it took me to do that, but we did get through it, and I really hoped it helped out. But let's get through these last few bits here and move on to my final thoughts and wrap this one up. When it comes to that scent, the scent is the same on all four products, that cognac and Cuban scent, and I do think that it's overall a good one. And on one hand, it's very different. It's not the same thing that we've been seeing in all these products lately. It's not, you know, even really a cologne type scent, which is used a ton of these days, even by myself. I do think that in that regard, it's a good scent because it's different. As a scent by itself, like just judging it as its own scent, I'm I'm a little bit on the fence about it, honestly. It's not my favorite, but it's not the worst either. I don't think it's very strong. It's just, you know, there's some notes of it that I don't like. There's some notes of it that I think are okay. So, you know, I'm really half and half on it. For the washout, though, the only one that really had a super easy washout was the original pomade, the gel type. I mean, this stuff disintegrated in my hair as soon as the water touched it. I mean, it just ran out of my hair like it owed the water money. The cream and the paste pomade both needed a little bit of help, though, from a shampoo, but really just one shampoo, which again, I consider to be an easy washout still because I shampoo my hair every day anyway, so for me that still qualifies as easy. The clay pomade, on the other hand, needed about 2 shampoos for me to get it fully out, or I found that I could get it out in one wash if I did use like a clarifying shampoo. Kevin Murphy's got one. It's just a very heavy cleanser. It did get it out in one with one of those. For the original pomade now, moving into my final thoughts and conclusions here, I have to say I thought it was just okay. I think the hold overall was great and the endurance too was obviously solid, but it was just a tad bit hard to style with for me, and that just kind of made it okay in my opinion. The cream pomade, on the other hand, though, now that was a bit better. I would have to agree with the brand, though, that this product works great for fine hair or straight haired folks. I do think it's got a bit of shine initially, and for sure it loses it throughout the day, which is something that I really appreciated. Where I do think, though, that it was a little bit light, slight pun intended, was the hold department. I do think it's on the lighter end of medium for sure, and it relied a lot on my dry hair to get enough hold to actually style with. For some reason too, I also thought there was a lot of similarities between this and the paste pomade. The two, they had a lot of similarities, and the only real differences that I saw was the paste pomade had a bit more hold and that shine didn't lift as much throughout the day. Between the two, I think the cream pomade is the better one for me personally. I think it just worked all around better for me personally, but of course that does leave out the one that I thought was the flat out home run, and that was the clay pomade. You see, clay pomades and me have had sort of a volatile relationship over the years. It's been kind of like this on and off again thing with me and clay pomades. I have honestly felt that in the past, some clay pomades just made no sense whatsoever, especially the oil-based ones. Like, they've just taken an oil-based pomade, added a little clay in there, and you can't tell it's even in there, and you're like, well, why are you adding clay? Probably just, you know, because clay is a buzzword now and people see clay and they want to buy it. And because of that, I've become very weary of clay pomades. I've always kind of looked at them like, are they actually going to work? Like, what is this one going to be about? This one here, though, no surprise to you guys, I'm sure, it has been a clay pomade done right. And no, that's not hype. That's not, you know, blowing smoke. I'm saying that because it actually works and I freaking loved it. It was a bit shiny in the beginning, yes, but soon it lifted into a full-on matte finish and it had this gritty texture in it, and it just made styling so easy, especially after it lifted. I prefer it after it lifted. If it stayed in its first stage in my hair all day, I would not be saying this at all because I really didn't prefer it in that stage. I'm talking about the lifted version, like when it lifts. I love that part because then you can get that full-on clay effect. It's gritty. You can tussle your hair around and get a lot of texture and volume out of it. I do think it's awesome for that reason. I do think it's got some slight comparisons to the American Gardens from Sheer Revival. I do think this one, though, the big difference there is this one gets into a deeper matte finish and it actually brings out more of a dry texture. That being said, though, another difference that I saw in this product is the hold strength. It's listed as a high hold, and in my opinion, it's definitely not a high hold. But then again, it didn't really need to be. This is a prime example of a product not need to be full-on high, heavy, firm hold in order to get a good result. I'd actually maybe put this into like the medium to firm range, maybe a firm, but again, it was perfectly adequate. I got a great result off of it, so sometimes you don't need a ton of hold. One thing also that I noticed that I thought was quite interesting was the fact that it had a similar texture to it as Quicksand by Hans de Foucault. And no, I'm not saying that in any way they are really comparable. I'm just saying that I noticed that texture-wise, they had this gritty consistency to it, and I just recognize it because once you use Quicksand, you never really forget it because it's got a very specific consistency. And when I use this, I thought, well, it's got that little bit of grittiness to it that you kind of see in that. And I think that comes from the fact that both products, both this clay pomade and Quicksand, use diatomaceous earth. I think this is a very specific ingredient, and it gives off a very specific look and feel in the hair. And overall, I'd have to say this one was very well done. It was definitely my favorite from the four 4 that I've checked out today. That is pretty much it though. That's my thoughts on the Con Moto line. I do want to thank them for letting me test their stuff and present to you my thoughts in this review. And if you enjoyed checking these out with me, do me a favor, tap that like button for me and drop me a comment down below with what your favorite was from today. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much in advance for that. Thank you also for checking out this video with me today. I will be, of course, coming back to you next week with some awesome new content. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.